Hello, everybody, man. I got a lady on the channel. Let me tell you something. I like this sister. I like this sister. She is, this is her second time coming on Strong Inspirations, and she has an open door policy here. Anytime she want to share something is good. Let me plug her first. She is a well recognized, accomplished, thought of attorney in the great state of New York. She is a author of a book that's a bestseller. And she posts often about relationships with divorce and child support and things of that sort, to keep people informed, not just women, but men also, for us men to understand our rights in that scenario. And she, in her first video, she talks about, and I know this was personal to her great-great-grandfather, 2-3-time great, who everybody in her family and others suspect, and we're pretty much sure 80-90% was lynched. Very heartfelt story that she shared with us. Watch that video. Now, let me back up here. I'm Anthony Brogdon. Let me tell you who I am. I'm the host of the show, and I find people like her. She's on the top of the list, though. And I appreciate everybody. I'm not putting nobody, but you hear what I'm saying, my friends. And so hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. My numbers are up, and I appreciate it. All you, my subscribers, I love you. And those who want to subscribe, I love you already. I'll love you more when you hit the button, though. Hit the like button on this video. I know you're going to like it because it's going to blow your mind. It's coming from her heart. Watch. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up, you get notified. And I'm not gonna, I just be honest with you, I don't want to put up no certain time because it hit my heart. Now is the time to share this. So I don't want to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now is the time. And that's when I do it. But it's on the channel permanently, so you can watch it anytime you so see fit. And then tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself. Let it flow. People, and this is crazy, you know how we Black folks do, we be talking about each other in such negative terms, not here on the channel. And one of the things we say is we don't preserve our own history. We let them tell it, not here at Strong Inspirations. Even though people of all races come on here, they tell it correctly on this channel. I make sure of that. We don't slant the news. We don't make it sound better than it was. I'm not doing, don't do that. Did you see the video? Did you see her video? Watch hers. And she, you know, we got to go into it, but look for the one where the lady says she believes her great-grandfather was lynched. Watch that video. Look at the one when we on that same level note, the one that I got with the guy who says they had his grandfather at the tree and was about to lynch him and let him go. He's a Mason, and he did a Mason distress call. One of the guys under the robe was a Mason also, and said, oh man, I can't let him do it to my brother. And they let him go. And he ran through the woods naked to survive. Watch that video. Watch the one I did with the lady out of Kansas City at the museum. She talks about lynching and how it was a picnic for them. Watch that video. And on a lighter note, watch the one that I did with the guy whose grandfather was on the last slave ship to arrive in America. He tells that entire story. Watch that video. And it's so crazy about it. On the story was they got here in 1860. 5 years later, slavery, you know, on all practical purposes had ended. Them folks got together and developed their own community, which is a thriving section of Mobile, Alabama, which they have now titled Africatown. If you ever heard of Africatown, then watch the video and you know how it came to that name. Watch that. And, you know, I got others, like I got the son of the NBA first Black player on the channel. We jamming here, my friends. Now, a couple more things. You know, I got a movie out. I don't have the DVD to show you, but when you go to my website, Business in the Black, you can watch the movie. It's streaming on Amazon. And then I do have this for you. It's a book that I've written. I'm going to sell 1,000,000 copies of these. I want everybody to get one, at least 1,000,000 folks. And we're going to work to make sure that happens. And I donate copies to schools across America because somehow I did not know things like there were slaves who owned businesses. And I list at least 20 of them in my book. I ain't know that. Maybe I was asleep that day. Something happened. But when I found that out, I said, man, I got to tell others. And it's in my book and in my film. The film is streaming on Amazon, and you know the only place you can get the book at this point is on my website, businessintheblack.net. Now you hear me use this term strong a lot, and that is a definition of my guest today. She's a strong sister. She's under this mantra: strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. That's her. And this is my introduction to her. Watch, y'all gonna love this lady. Come on, sister, introduce yourself. Thank you again for coming on Strong Inspirations.
Anthony, how are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. My name is Kathy Middleton Lewis. I'm an attorney in the New York City area. Well, Brother Anthony, I am the 3 times great granddaughter of Charles H. Parker. Charles H. Parker was born in 1844 as a slave under the lash of slavery, but died in 1939 as a free man who not only helped to establish a church, Moore Sanctuary, Amy Zion Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, but helped to establish the Plato Price School, which ultimately became the training ground for many successful people in North Carolina, including former Congressman Mel Watt. And my great-great-great-grandfather also helped to establish several homesteads for individuals who were coming out of slavery, who needed to find a way to set up homes for themselves and farms for themselves to begin the process of transitioning out of the slave experience into the position of being contributing members of the Charlotte's community.
And so he, well, first of all, the first question is, he lived, how many years was that? Did you?
He lived to be approximately 95 is my understanding.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He had a lot of time to do a lot of great work. And I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to hold it up to you. This picture on that my finger is beneath. This is a picture of him, one of his pictures. I have other pictures of him on my Twitter feed, which is @Support Law.
All right.
You can see the kind of man that he was. This is my great 3 times great grandmother, his wife, this Rachel Parker. She didn't live as long as he did. She lived to be approximately 73 years of age, but both of them were stalwarts in the Charlotte community. And what they did was, after slavery, coming out of slavery.
No, hold on, let me stop you there.
Okay.
Was that where the plantation was in Charlotte, or was it someplace else and they migrated there? Do you know that?
Well, my understanding is actually they migrated to Charlotte from Albemarle County, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so that county is the place of their enslavement. And what they did was they decided that they were going to make a go of it and be as successful as possible and be contributing members of the community and help other people who were trying to get out of slavery or trying to establish a footing for themselves after they left slavery. So they bought lots of pieces of land. And my understanding is that during the time of Reconstruction, when they were just getting their start, land wasn't very valuable. So they took whatever they had, grew crops, however they were able to make their living, and invested their monies in the purchase of land. Ultimately, I believe he owned approximately 250 acres.
Woohoo, that's a lot.
Yes, yes. And some of this land, like I said, he didn't keep all of his land to himself. He wasn't a selfish person. Some of that land is the land on which Moore Sanctuary AME Zion Church rests today, to this day. In fact, it's the graveyard adjacent to Moore Sanctuary AME Zion Church in North Carolina. That land was my great 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 grandfather's land. And he and my great 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 grandmother are interned there today, along with several of their children. These are their children,
Okay.
my Uncle Ollie, Aunt Anna, many of them are interned there today. So I had the good fortune and the rare fortune of knowing where at least some of my enslaved ancestors are buried and can actually go to their website. It is a very emotional thing to know. I'm proud to know about their strength, but there's pain as well mixed in that they could be dehumanized in such a way.
Now hold on, stop you there. In what way? What way? What, I didn't get that part.
Dehumanized in a way of just experiencing slavery.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
My great 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 grandfather had to hide in order to learn how to read and write. He learned how to read and write before he became emancipated. And he did this at great risk to his life and to his limb. We all know that there were laws out there at the time that prohibited us from being able to read and write, that could have cost him a limb, could have cost him his eyes, could have cost him his life just to do that. And so, the thought of that we as a country who professed to be a land that was of the people, by the people, for the people, a society that understood the rights of man, to say that we as a society still and yet took human beings like these and dehumanized them
Yeah, sure.
is a very difficult thing to think about.
Sure. Now let me ask you this. He learned to read and write, and then do what? I mean, when he's 16 and 17, does he go to and get any formal education? Do you know anything like that?
My understanding is that he never received any formal education, although he respected education. And that's the reason why some of his land was used to help found the Plato Price Elementary School. So there was a strong understanding on his part that the way that African Americans were going to be able to succeed in this society was through knowing as much as possible as we could through the confines of education.
Did his sons or his daughter get an education, and they rose to another height over what he had accomplished, type thing? May I ask that?
That's exactly what happened. In fact, my Uncle Ollie, he was a student at the school is Johnson C. Smith University in North Carolina.
I love it.
He spent time there, and several of my aunts here, they also became teachers, having gone to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical School or North Carolina A&T University.
Yeah.
Education was always important to the family, and to this day, we still have quite a few educators in the family. My mother is an educator.
Yeah.
And I have aunts and uncles who are also educators as well.
Sure. What happened to is that land? Is it in a town that has taken over where it is, or is it still a separate entity? You know what I mean? Because the reason why I asked that, because that kind of happened to my mother. She grew up in some small place in Tennessee. She never went back. I never went. She never talked about it, and she moved away when she was young. But she says it's like a spot by itself. That's all she remembers, and could not ever tell me where it was. You can identify that, but is it a part of a major city, or is it in a rural area, or what have you?
It's in a part of parts of the land. They're in a pretty urban area.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, pretty well built up. And actually, just to go back to his children, one of the things that his children did, and this will connect with the land in a minute, is they took some of the land that he passed down to them, and they established the Parker Heights housing development.
Okay.
And that development also still exists today. If you go on Google, you can actually Google Parker Heights housing, and it's for moderately income people to be able to have clean, affordable housing, a place to raise their children. And that housing was actually land that they donated. the family donated to the city of Charlotte for this purpose and designated it for that purpose for low-income individuals. It's located on Remont Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. So there was that sense of giving to the community was always there.
Are there historical markers in his honor or something like that? Or would you like to have one put up? What have you?
We do intend to have a historical marker in his honor, but one great historical honor that he did receive last year was the renaming of the Barringer Academic Center, which is an elementary school in Charlotte, to the Charles H. Parker Academic Center.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes, and it just happened last year, and it was an important honor because of the fact that Barringer was very closely associated, the individual Barringer himself, I believe his name is Osmond Barringer. He was closely associated with white supremacy, the white supremacy movement. His father, whom he said he was naming the school after, and the school was named after his father in the 1950s. His father was a Confederate soldier who was also part of a white supremacist group called the Red Shirts. His brother was a race eugenicist professor at Duke University who stated that Black people were genetically inferior to whites and we had to be treated as segregated beings because of this so-called inferiority.
Really?
Yeah, so Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system decided at some point in time that Barringer's legacy was not one that they wanted to have represented in a school that is predominantly kids of color.
Right.
But really shouldn't be in any way respected anywhere.
Yeah, sure.
So what happened was there was a contest which included my 3 times great-grandfather, Charles Parker, and several other individuals who were very important contributors to the Black community and to the community at large in Charlotte, North Carolina. But he actually won the competition.
Just a couple more questions. When you own land, you have to pay property tax on that land. So all those years, somebody paid a tax on it so that they didn't take it away. Because usually that's how it happens, I suspect.
Exactly. So
the family kept it up?
Yes, the family was very steadfast and just consistent in terms of making sure that the land, the property taxes are paid for. In fact, some of the land, approximately 10 acres, continues to exist in the family today. And several members of the family live in houses on that land. So the family is very persistent about being responsible for holding on to whatever it is that you have access to. What has been given to you, you do not allow to just fall out of your possession.
I love it. You know, I got a story right quick, everybody. A guy tells me, he's a lawyer friend of mine. He tells me client called him one day. The client says, hey, I just got a phone call from a guy that said, I'm the heir to some land in Georgia or somewhere and the land got a lake on it, what have you. And I want to offer you money for it. The guy says, hold on. He calls the lawyer. The lawyer says, I'll offer him an extreme amount. So the guy does. The guy says, hey, man, I got to get back with you on that. A year later, they accept his amount. And he falls into like 3 million and had no clue.
Wow.
He had no clue. Didn't know didn't even know the guy. They had no heard of him. But he was the heir of the land, or the last person that they knew of that, that when they did the search on it. And I guess somebody paid the tax on it. That's an incredible story. How does this make you feel to know this?
I feel a sense of pride to be able to look at the faces of the individuals who are part of my family, who endured the suffering of systemic racism, Jim Crow, slavery, and it makes you feel that you have no excuse for trying your best to succeed as much as you possibly can in your life.
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
A sense of encouragement.
Have you? I'm probably sure you have, but have you been down to the land and walked it and saw that it was there and that kind of thing?
We have family reunions about every 3 years.
Oh, okay.
I have been walking this land from the time that I remember my own consciousness. You know, and you know, when you're younger, you don't really understand what is all this old stuff that I'm looking at. Why is my mother making me stand here over this grave of a person who I've never seen before? But as you become older, you realize the strong connection and the spiritual bond. And a lot of times you do feel a sense of there's a spiritual connection when you're in the grave area. You know, being able to have ancestral grounds, a place where you can come to remember your ancestors, I think is a very important thing. And it really, that too goes back to our African roots.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah, I feel privileged to be able to say that I have that ancestral ground to go back to and sort of, you know, pay homage to the ones who came before me.
Would you like to write a book about that?
I absolutely would like to write a book about that, a nonfiction book about the history of his life. And the struggles that he endured and the way that he was able to overcome those struggles in order to achieve success for himself and for his community, not just for his family, but for his community at large. Because I think that the model that he's established through his own life is a model that we can take into today. It's the model that's going to help the Black community and all communities, which is that we are responsible for our neighbors.
Sure.
We're responsible for not just lifting ourselves up. If somebody else is down, then we're down.
Yes.
Our success has to be everybody's success and vice versa.
Sure. I love it. That's the closing remark there, everybody. That's it. And so everybody hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspiration. You see what I do. I let the people do the talking as best I can. Ask a couple questions. I find the people too. Somehow, this has become my ministry, to try to find these people somewhere out there and say, come on the channel and let everybody hear this story. And they telling personal stories too. I've had a couple people say, hey, I can't tell that. You know, other people might get mad or whatever, I don't know. And I don't sweat them over it, but when you want to tell it, this is where it happens, where we give it to you straight, no chaser, my friends. And so, like I say, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video, hit the notifications bell, tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. And to you, my sister, I say this, and I mean this once again, I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing, educating people on all fronts and about your family. Please work on that book. We need to read it.
I will.
Get it out there. You and your family collaborate on it. When you all have a big something down there, or when you go down to Charlotte or something like that, and you know, maybe let me know. I'm into traveling again, and then I could see it and walk with y'all, you know, and so on and so forth.
That's
maybe that could be a situation.
Thank
you for coming. Yep, it's done. Thank you for coming on the channel, everybody. I'll say bye-bye, we out.